what if you told me one thing for each grandchild that you're proud of?
Oh my. Well, I am very proud. I'll start with Suzanne because she's the oldest grandchild. Of course, I was very proud of her when she came along. I was getting ready, Joe was getting about ready to retire when Suzanne was born. And I took Suzanne over to the school and showed her off to the teachers and everything. I was very, very proud of her and enjoyed having her. I kept Suzanne and Yolanda quite a bit through the years. And they stayed with me at New Blaine, and I enjoyed them, and I think they enjoyed staying with me. But for Suzanne, the thing I admire most about her is how she married again and had 4 teenagers, am I right? 4 teenage children to take care of. Be 5, I guess. Yeah. And they got along so well together, and they seemed so happy. They just seemed like a happy family. I enjoyed being around them, going around them. And those boys loved Suzanne, and Ryan even went so far as to have to walk Suzanne down the aisle when he was married. And that is something special, and it's not protocol. And he wanted to do it to show his appreciation for a stepmother. He thought of her more as a mother, so I've admired Suzanne for that. That's something I don't think I could have coped with. I had 2 boys, and Suzanne had 3, didn't she, to take care of? And plus the 2 girls, be 5 there. That was wonderful, because it's a big job to be a parent. And I think she must have done a wonderful job, because they've all turned out to do real well. Taylor even went on through school, didn't he? Went through college, and here she is teaching. So I'm so proud. That gave her a good background. And Amy was so sweet. I still think about the day they put me in the car and took me to Galveston. Spent the whole day with me, helped me carry my purse because it got to hurting my arm. Just things like that. It's wonderful to have family, have people that care for you.
And what about Yolanda?
All right, next is Yolanda. Yolanda is a very quiet person at times, but she's a very smart girl. And I remember when she was little, and she stayed with me a lot, and I'd read to her. I always read to children, because I liked reading. And Suzanne was doing something, being older. She was in advance of Yolanda and what she could do, and she had recited something, and Yolanda says, "I can read that book," and she wasn't old enough to read. And so we handed the book to her and said, "Okay, read." And she read the whole book off, but it was memorized. She had memorized it page by page. So I knew she was a very intelligent little girl. And I'm proud of her, the way she has supported Josh through the years. Yolanda has moved from house to house to house to town to state, back and forth, and I've never heard her complain about it. I have never heard. She may have complained about it, but she hasn't to me. And she has supported Josh in his work, and it made it possible for Josh to do what he has done. And I think in a way she's probably sacrificed her own life so that Josh could succeed at his. And of course I'm proud of Josh too. Everybody's proud of Josh that knows Josh and knows what persistence he's had, how many times he's tried to do something and got knocked out of it, and yet he went on and succeeded. Okay, where are we now? Down to Matthew. Okay, Matthew is quite a character. Little boy. I took care of him a little bit when we moved back to Fort Smith and J.O. was sick. We moved right in front of Jimmy and Beverly. And I took care of Matthew as long as I was able to with J.O. being sick. One day I took Matthew out in the backyard and there was a big, long, green praying mantis on the tree. And I walked up to it. I don't know how old he was, 3 maybe, something like that. I said, Matthew, look at that. He did. I said, do you know what that is? Sure. He's always been very confident, you know. He said, sure, I know. It's a dinosaur. And I thought, you know, all he has done is see a picture of a dinosaur in a paper, and they're not any bigger than that. How does he know that that's not a dinosaur, you know? And it does kind of look like one. So I always remember that about Matthew. And another thing, he was in a play when he was in the 10th grade. The play, I believe, was called The Mouse That Roared. Is there such a play as that? And he was the little general. And he did a great job. He had a costume on to look like a general, and he was kind of short at that time. And I can remember the pants were rolled up at the bottom, you know, so he wouldn't stumble over them. But that was fun to go through and watch him in a play. And I knew Matthew was smart. I knew he was very intelligent. But Matthew didn't want to go on to college. He quit work. He had a scholarship, and he quit college when he could have gone on without too much expense. And that was a little disappointing, but he got a job just working in different places. And one day I said, Matthew, why don't you go on to school and get a job that's more challenging? He said, I'm happy, Grandma. And I said, well, you know, that's great. I said, a lot of people would give anything to be able to say I'm happy with the work I'm doing. But later he did go on back to college, and he's had a lot of college since then. And I'm very proud of him for going on to school and getting his degree. And now using his brain. And Jamie, in spite of the fact that Jamie lives in Fort Smith, I don't see her a lot. I haven't been around her a lot because our lives have gone in different routes. And I'm proud of her for going on to school. I knew Jamie could do it, but when her mother got sick, of course that was very upsetting to both children. And they stayed home and helped with her and everything. And so Jamie's gone on, got her master's degree, I believe. So I'm very proud of her too. I'm proud of people that put out an effort and go to school, try to do the best they can. So I love all my grandchildren.
And now your immediate children.
Oh, do I have to talk about those boys?
You don't have to talk in a huge extent, but same thing. What are you proud of them for?
What am I proud of them for? I'm proud that they turned out to be the men they are. And I know they were not perfect. I probably thought they were. They fooled me many times. And I find out things later that they did that might be a little scary or something. But both boys are intelligent. They've used their mind. Jimmy has had a reading disorder. He was dyslexic. And we were teachers and we didn't know how to handle it. We didn't know much about dyslexia. We just knew that when he write his spelling words, instead of C-A-T, it'd be T-A-C, you know. And he had trouble reading. But Jimmy has a fantastic mind, a fantastic memory, and it's because of technology. He can use his cell phone, and he can talk to people he can get information. He's always looking up something on his phone, which he would not do with a reference book, you know. So his mind is just loaded with facts, as he says, irrelevant facts that he doesn't know how to use. And I'm proud of Johnny. Johnny was trained to be a teacher, but he decided very quickly he did not want to be a teacher after he did practice teaching. And he worked at Whirlpool all these years. Well, that's an honor in itself to stay at the same place and not be fired. I think he came close a time or two, but he got awards for staying there so many years. And he was there from the time he was in college until Whirlpool moved away. So that's quite a record. And Johnny wanted to move back at the farm after he and Darlene separated. I did not believe he would ever go back to the farm because he hated going out to the farm. He had to work, build fences, feed the cows, and do things like that. But where did he want to live? Back at the farm. And I think he's done a good job. And I'm very proud of his book that he wrote. I had to prod him to get it printed, but he did. And he got it organized. He had it all on the computer and everything. So that made it easier, made it cheaper to have it published. So he did a lot of research, and he's still doing research. And Johnny's always been able to do research. That's just the thing he really enjoys doing, I think. And he has a lot of friends that are interested in railroads and coal mines and things like that. And it's something that the community's losing. The mines are closed, most of them. The railroads mostly are out of business now, tracks taken up. So he's delving into history too. So I'm proud of both my boys.
I think just to wrap it up, the last few things I'm curious about is, so this will probably be online so that family can watch it. Is there anything last that you want to say, or anybody that you want to reach out to and say you would like to see them? Anybody at all, or anything that you would like to say?
Well, I like to see anyone in the family. And even if it's just been wonderful to have Taylor here. And it's been wonderful to meet you because you mean something to Taylor. And I think I would have enjoyed, even if the trip you came without Taylor, I enjoyed having you here. Yeah, you're quite an interesting person in yourself there. I just like any of the family members. I have especially enjoyed being down in Rockport and getting to be close to my brother and sister-in-law. They were a lot of fun. They are fun people, and they have lots of friends, and it rubs off on you, you know, when you're down there. I have another brother that I think a lot of, but I don't see him real often, but I still am very proud of Pal and Chloe, and he's the one who was the pilot. And Pal was a little boy who didn't talk very early in life. He didn't have to. He was the youngest of 5, and he would just grunt and point at something, and somebody would get it and do it. We knew what he wanted, and we kept Pal, I guess, from learning to talk at an early age. And some neighbors were worried about it because he wasn't talking. Well, when Pal started talking, the first thing he said was a full sentence, so we knew he could talk. But he has done well, and worked for TWA for a long time, and has been an overseas pilot. He's had a lot of interesting experiences, and has 3 beautiful daughters, beautiful girls. In fact, I love all my nieces and nephews. I had a nephew that came, not a nephew, a great nephew. My niece's son came and brought me a yellow rose plant that had originally belonged to my mother. And He brought potting soil. I think he even brought a shovel to plant it, for me. He brought two. One of them he had just pulled up and the roots didn't have the dirt all around them. He didn't think it would make it. But it has bloomed and it's making it fine. So I enjoy people. I enjoy older people. You can always learn from them. I'm sorry I didn't get to be around them over my I only knew one grandfather, and he died just before Dale was born. So a month before Dale was born. Dale's 6 years younger than I, so I was 6 years old when he died. So I did not get to know my grandfathers. I did know two grandmothers, and I enjoyed both of them. I met my great-grandmother once or twice, and the poor thing couldn't remember who we were very long. They could tell her, and she would remember for a short time, and then she'd say, "Who are you?" So she had some interesting experiences too, and I could have learned a lot of family history from her had I known earlier. You young people are missing an opportunity if you don't talk to older relatives when you can, because there's so many things I want to ask my mother and daddy that I think of now that they knew, but I didn't know to ask it. You don't know the questions to ask, you just don't think about it. So all young people need a little history, and I guess that's what you're doing, is getting some history.
You figured it out.
Huh?
You figured it out.
I figured it out. I hope you don't publish this, because my story is not very interesting.
Oh, it's very special
ordinary
to us.
life.
It's very special
Very
to us.
ordinary life.